Now here's a question that we've all asked ourselves at some point. Can life be easier? And you can be pretty sure that whenever we've asked ourselves that question, life has seemed pretty complicated. Now let's just explore this for a moment, because when life seems complicated, it can look like there are circumstances coming at us from every angle. There's a lot going on, that the situations seem difficult and complex. And yet we also know that sometimes we can breeze through situations that are quite involved, and other times when things are pretty straightforward, we seem to make a mountain out of a molehill. We also can see that in a given situation, some people find that situation pretty straightforward and easy, whereas others find the same situation much more difficult. So this points to a high degree of subjectivity when it comes to whether we feel life is complicated or not. So let's separate two strands to this. First of all, there is what you might call the external factors, the circumstances that we find ourselves, the things going on, the events, the people, the happenings, all of that. And to be fair, most of that we have very little or no control over. It is what it is. And at the same time, the other strand, we have this inner experience of either complexity or simplicity, or somewhere in between. So how can we make sense of this? Well, one thing that I've found very helpful indeed is to see that the inner experience that we have in any particular moment is coming from or driven by the thoughts that we have in our mind. The experience of complexity comes from when our mind is very busy, when there's a lot going on mentally, when we're juggling thoughts and ideas and concepts, and we're trying to puzzle things out and we're trying to find solutions. And that results in this feeling that life is complicated, overcomplicated. In fact, it can even seem overwhelming. But what we can also recognise is that that feeling is a clue that that busy mind is actually interfering with our best abilities. And in a way we have an intuitive sense of this, because we know that when we are cool and calm and collected, our performance is better than when we are stressed and confused. It's pretty obvious when you put it in those terms. So when we have a very busy mind and we're feeling that sense of complexity, it is a signal that we're in the weeds. It's almost as if our internal navigation system, much like a car does sometimes, takes us off down ever increasing tortuous routes until we end up on this bumpy single track heading for oblivion almost, and we're lost. Well, of course, in that situation, we would retrace our steps and get back to a known position. And in terms of experiencing complexity, when we know that we are busy-minded and we've lost our way, then what we can do is just give up on all that busy-mindedness, just let that go, because we can be sure that when we do that, our mind will settle and we shall start to see new perspectives. We shall get fresh ideas. We shall get inspiration on what to do next. In fact, it's such a strong distinction or strong contrast that to me it seems almost like when things are getting complicated, it's a sign to give up on that particular way of thinking, at least for now, to see what comes. And what I find is there's a tremendous sense of relief there, because all that effort that's getting me nowhere, I can just disregard, and it's then a chance for something new to arise. Now, just as a footnote here, when I set out to make this video, I was going to do a completely different topic, And yet it seemed to get more and more complicated. And the more I worked on it and the more I planned it and the more I thought about it, it got more complicated. So I actually decided to leave it alone. And that opened my eyes to two things. One, what I'm talking about here, it reminded me that that sense of complexity means that I'm interfering with my best abilities. So why continue? And the other thing, of course, is that new thoughts, new ideas, new inspirations arise automatically. And that's what's happened here. So I hope you find that useful, and please do send me any questions or comments that occur to you. And I look forward to seeing you next time.